Hello, students. Today we're going to talk a little bit about setting. I also want to re-emphasize some points we made earlier about metaphor, simile, and personification, those figurative language elements to writing that really are important for making your details come alive. However, first I want to talk a little bit about synonyms. A synonym is just a word that means exactly or nearly the same thing as another word or phrase. Below, there's some words that are boring and nondescript. What I'm going to want you to do is to come up with 5 synonyms for each of these words. The video will pause after I say each of the words, and so it'll give you time to write for each of them. So the first word is hot. The second word is cold. The third word is good. And finally, the last word is bad. Welcome back. So now we begin our discussion on setting. When you're writing for your setting, using lots of description can really help bring your reader into your story. It can help your reader picture themselves if they were actually there, experiencing the same experiences you were experiencing. In order to do this best, it is best to appeal to the 5 senses, such as sight, hearing, taste, touch, and finally smell. The following portion of a story includes most of these. Everything that's in green is going to appeal to the sense of smell. Everything that's in blue is going to appeal to the sense of sight. Everything that is pink is going to appeal to the sense of hearing, and everything in purple is going to appeal to the sense of touch. One morning, there was a different smell in the air, and the ship was moving oddly, with a brisker rocking from side to side instead of the plunging and soaring. Lyra was on deck a minute after she woke up, gazing greedily at the land. Such a strange sight, after all that water. For though they had only been at sea a few days, Lyra felt as if they'd been at the ocean for months. Directly ahead of the ship, a mountain rose, green-flaked and snow-capped, and a little town and harbor lay below it. Wooden houses with steep roofs, an oratory spire, cranes in the harbor, and clouds of gulls wheeling and crying. The smell was of fish, but mixed with it came land smells too. Pine resin and earth and something animal and musky, and something else that was cold and blank and wild. It might have been snow. It was the smell of the north. Seals frisked around the ship, showing their clown faces above the water before sinking back without a splash. The wind that lifted spray off the white-capped waves was monstrously cold, searched out every gap in Lyra's wolfskin. So what I'm going to be asking of you is you're going to be seeing some different scenes, some pictures of scenes. For each of these, I want you to write a description. I want you to use the figurative language aspect that is included with each of these. So for this first one, I want you to describe the setting. I would also want you to use a simile, which is comparing two things using the word like or as. For example, the house shriveled and rots like a piece of discarded fruit. Some words you might want to use are dilapidated, overgrown, wilderness, lonely, or broken. For this next scene, I want you to use it to describe it using personification. For example, the clouds scowled. Clouds are not actually scowling. It's something that humans can only do. However, we're using that to describe the clouds. Some words you may want to use are menacing, abandoned, hostile, tragic, or possibly rotten. For this next picture, I want you to describe it using a metaphor. That is basically just saying that something is something else. The snow is soft velvet. Some words you may want to use are majestic, crisp, and peaceful. For this scene, I'd like you to include another simile. That's comparing two things using like or as, such as the rocks jut out like something else. Some words you may want to use are powerful, relentless, meanders, or unforgiving. For this setting, I'd like you to include another simile. That's using two things that are comparing two things with the words like or as, such as the walls crumbled like hot ash. Some words you may want to use, some vocabulary, are sinister, menacing, evil, or possibly intimidating. So for the remainder of class, what I'd like you to do is to continue working on your personal narrative. Keep in mind all the elements we discussed during our rubric yesterday. Also, when you're describing your setting, make sure you're using some sort of figurative language and appealing to the senses. As always, the expectations for independent work time is that there is a voice level 0. You are working independently, not with a group. You are to stay seated in your actual seat. I have given instructions to the sub to write down the name of any student that is not following these expectations.